Melody is probably the most salient aspect of music. It is what stands out in our mind most often. It is the aspect of music that gives each piece its identity. Melody is one of the oldest aspects of musical expression, one unaccompanied voice. This creates a musical texture called monophony. Melody developed long before the tonal system, but there are some characteristics of melody that are more or less universal. Melodies draw an interesting imaginary line over time through pitch space. Melodies have a beginning, a middle, and an end, generally determined by the rate of the human breath, called a phrase. The end of the phrase is called the cadence. Melodies tend to focus on a tonal center. There is one pitch class that emerges as the point of origin and rest, the most stable pitch. Melodies outline an uneven musical pitch space that is circular. The notes used repeat in every octave and have musical steps of at least 2 or 3 different sizes. In other words, melodies outline a particular mode or scale. Melodies can use pitches that are not in the mode or scale as embellishments. Most successive notes in a melody progress by stepwise motion. Leaps create musical tension and tend to be followed by stepwise motion in the opposite direction. Over its lifetime, a melody tends to form an arch structure. If the melody is particularly long, it will tend to exhibit a double arch structure. Melodies tend to have a range from lowest to highest note, comfortably within the range of the human voice, about an octave and a half. Melodies use unstable tones to create the tendency to want to move towards a more stable tone. The common final ending or cadence for a melody is scale degree 2 moving to scale degree 1, the tonal center, regardless of the mode or scale. In tonal music, melodies outline and are supported by a harmonic structure or chord progression. The notes of a melody tend to move more quickly than the chord progression. Melodies tend to create rhythms at the beat and division level of musical time, often with notes that span more than one beat. More than one distinct melody being played simultaneously creates a polyphonic texture, or polyphony. When a melody is accompanied, the musical texture is heterophony. When the accompanying voices move with the melody and lose their individual identity, the texture is homophonic or homophony. Melodies tend to be built around a single idea or motif, or simply motive, a short pattern of successive intervals in a particular rhythm. There are a number of common ways to treat a motive to expand its musical expression. Repetition. Simply repeat the motive. Sequence. Repeat the motive at a different pitch level. A sequence may be exact or tonal. An exact sequence has pitches that create exactly the same interval pattern as the original. A tonal sequence has pitches that remain in the mode or scale, even if the intervals between the pitches must be altered. Inversion. The interval between each successive note is preserved, but the direction of movement is reversed. You can think of this as upside down. Retrograde. The interval pattern of the successive notes of the melody is reversed. You can think of this as backwards. Retrograde-Inversion combines retrograde and inversion, in other words, backwards and upside down. Rhythmic Augmentation. The duration of the notes is increased. Rhythmic Diminution. The durations of the notes are decreased. Intervallic Augmentation or Diminution. Increasing or decreasing the size of the intervals between the successive notes of the motive. More than one melodic phrase can be linked together to create larger musical structures. Two phrases linked together are commonly called a period. The first phrase is called the antecedent, the first part of a two-part whole. The antecedent is incomplete and creates the need for a second part, the consequent. Made of two parts, the structure is binary. This is the same form as cause and effect or question and answer. We can describe the relationship between melodic phrases based on how they begin and end. The building of musical structures and how they vary is called musical form. If two phrases begin the same and end the same, we have an exact repetition or repeated phrases. If two phrases begin the same but end differently, we say the phrases are parallel. If two phrases begin differently but end the same, we say the form is rounded. If two phrases begin differently and end differently, they are completely different, and we say they are contrasting phrases. If the antecedent and the consequent phrases are of the same length, we say they are symmetrical. If the phrases are of different lengths, we say they are asymmetrical. Melodies are extremely resilient structures. A good melody will survive any treatment. It will retain its brilliance no matter what musical style or reharmonization might be applied to it, be it symphonic, jazz, rock, folk, polka, grunge, elevator, doo-wop, barbershop, reggae, techno, or just about any one of the diverse styles in the universe of music. Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention were renowned for playing the same song in different styles, or even switching styles in the middle of a performance. We will take a look at a few great melodies and see what makes them work so well. You should practice writing your own melodies, making honest assessments of how well they sound, and get some feedback from musicians and non-musicians alike.